got some people asking me about death and what do I think about death, and really and truthfully, a lot of times, I mean, I don't like to really give what my opinion is. Really and truthfully, what I like to do is talk about what the Bible says. I mean, because really and truthfully, what you think, I mean, sometimes get misconstrued with, you know, your issues, your thoughts. But when you come correct, when you come talking about the Bible, that right there, really and truthfully, is how you nip it in the bud. Because the Bible is the Bible, and really and truthfully, um, this is our instruction manual, you know, for this. And luckily, we got one. I mean, we received mine a little late, so I made some mistakes in the beginning, but hey, that's neither here nor there. All right, so we're back to death. What do I think about death? I think that when I die, I go into a sleep state where I'm waiting to be awakened, judged, and then placed in my perspective. Placed in my you know area, I guess you would say. So yeah, as far as that, I see that we're asleep. When Jesus talked about being asleep, he talked about it being death, but being asleep. And let's look at the first one. And again, we're going to go to the Bible because I don't really want to give you all my thoughts. And we're going to look first into Mark chapter 5. And we're going to start with verse 35. So 5:35 through 43. And let me read it for you real quick. And this, let me clarify, is the New International Version of the Holy Bible, which is basically the same thing as the King James and everything else. It's just going to be easier to read. While Jesus was still speaking, some man came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue ruler. Your daughter is dead. They said, why bother the teacher anymore? Ignoring what they said, Jesus said to the synagogue ruler, don't be afraid, just believe. He told them not to allow, not for anyone to follow except for Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue ruler, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying, wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, why all the commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep. But they laughed at him. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and the mother and the disciples that were with him, and they went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, Talitha cum, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately the girl stood up and walked around and was 12 years old. At this they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to tell anyone and told them to give her something to eat. So, right there, little girl was sick. She died. Jesus got there, said she was asleep, and woke her up. So we're, again, first evidence that, you know, death is sleeping until we're resurrected. So another one that shows someone being asleep is the death of Lazarus. And this is in John chapter 11. And basically, it's the whole chapter which talks about the death of Lazarus. But what I'll do is I'll give you like a little bit of preset. A synopsis is the word to use. A brief cover all on that. So, the death of Lazarus. Of course, Jesus is somewhere, and Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha, were real good friends of Jesus. It said in the portion of it that he loved them. Um, they come and they tell him that, hey, Jesus, Lazarus is dying, and if you don't get there, he's going to die. And Jesus waited another 2 days because he had an objective. He wanted Lazarus to die because he wanted to be able to resurrect him. So it had to play out the way it is. Sometimes we get caught up on the now. The part is he's dying. Is there nothing we can do about it? Well, I mean, God said he's just asleep. So, I mean, at any time, God could wake him back up. I mean, at any time. Listen to what I'm telling y'all. I mean, anyway. So then it gets word that Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I am glad I was not there so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Jesus was telling his disciples that, saying, I'm glad it happened the way it did because, I've got something that I've got to do so that you'll believe that I can do what the Father has told me to do. So then they get there. And now Jesus' sisters, Lazarus' sisters, is like, oh, what's going on? I mean, if you'd have been here, throwing blame on Jesus. Like, if you'd have been here, then he wouldn't have died. Blah, blah, blah. Because we always want to put the blame on somebody. We never want to be like, this is just the way it is. Point blank. So, Jesus then told both of them, it's like, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. And he said, do you believe this? Yes, I do. And so then they, went on to the place, and they finally get there, and Jesus sees that they're feeling bad, and they're crying and stuff like that. And it says right here that Jesus wept as well. And so now it gets to the entrance, and Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a solid lid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been here for 4 days. Oh my God. So we got a mental picture. He's been dead for 4 days. Anybody knows anything about decay, we know that they wrapped him up probably, but there's a certain amount of decay that's going on. Now the skin is rotten, so it's got some type of odor to it, and things like that. So that's where they was concerned. They were like, hey, he's been dead for 4 days. There's probably going to be a smell. And then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone, and then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this in the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. When he said this, Jesus called out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. Now, I want to stop right there. And that is in John 11:43. Jesus called out in a loud voice that said, Lazarus, come out. Now, why didn't he just say, come out? Because if he had just said, come out, everybody who was dead in there would have been awoken at the same time, and everybody would have just came out. So he had to be specific and call out one name, Lazarus. Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped in the strips of linen and the cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." So that's two people that were asleep and that were woken up. So death is not death, not per se from the Bible. All right. So now we're going to talk about one more who was awakened that had some purpose. Jesus. Now we all know the story that Jesus came down, that he lived as a man, worked with his hands. Don't know so much if it was a carpenter or what it was. It just says translated from Aramaic to across. It's basically someone that works with the hands. So they just kind of laid carpenter on it. So anyway, so it worked with his hands. Was baptized by John the Baptist in the river. Then he led a life where he was teaching everybody about God and trying to get them set up. Did everything that he was supposed to do. Healed the sick. Brought people back to life. The little girl and Lazarus being the examples. So he did everything that he was sent down to do, and then he had to die, and that was by the form of Judas. That went and told on him, said that, here's the guy that's been doing all this, it's blasphemy, blah blah blah. Set it up, and anyway, it had to be done because the whole process had to go through. So if it wasn't Judas, it was going to be somebody. So then he got beat down pretty bad. And then hung on a cross to die, hung on a cross, hung on a tree, hung on a stake. It really doesn't matter what object it was that he was hung from. He was hung to die. And now he's done died. And 3 days later, after the Sabbath, at the dawn of the first day of the week, which was Sunday, because Sabbath was Saturday, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from the heaven and came into the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were as white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and then became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that it was you who were looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he has said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell the disciples he was risen from the dead, and he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then he said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." So, I apologize. That was Matthew chapter 28, 1 through 8, 1 through 10. So, if we put that into perspective, and let's look at one more thing. And I didn't have this one marked, but I'm going to throw it in because it's another talking about what's up. Do we really go to heaven when we die? Is that what we're told? Sure, there's going to be some in the Bible that tell you that some were taken up. Elijah was one of them. Was just taken up. But this is what it said in Revelation chapter 20, verse 11. Then I saw a great white throne and him who was seated on it. Earth and sky fled from his presence. Earth and sky fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and the books were opened. Another book was opened, which was the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done, and as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead that were in it, and the death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and each person was judged accordingly to what they had done. Then death and Hades was thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. If anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into that lake of fire as well. Okay, so the dead are judged. So if you die, you immediately go to heaven, then where's the judgment at? I mean, what part of that are you being awoken to be judged? And it said that, you had to be coming from out of different places, death, Hades, another one was the sea gave up the dead. So I guess that's anyone who died at sea, maybe, I don't know. And then, but still, it's talking about being awoken to be judged. So, I hope this helps you out. If there's anything else that you would like to get at me and let me know something. I'm gonna leave it in the comments. I'm all about it because so I can talk about the Bible all day long. But they've got this little limit for these videos. So. Yeah, death. It's not the end. Not like they think it is. It's the death, the end of this body, the end of complications with life. It's the end of dealing with bills. It's the end of dealing with car payments. It's the end of going to work every day. It's the end of just being stuck in a rut. And it also is the end of seeing your family and the end of seeing your loved ones. It is an end for that. But if you've held fast to this part, when God tells you how He wants you to act, if you do that the best that you can, then there's a promise that you'll get to see each and every loved one again, provided that they're doing their right. So all you can hope for is that you correct your bloodline and fix all that. That'll be another video too. Next time will be about why we got gays. Let me tell you what the Bible says about gays. But we'll leave that for the next time. This is Mike Jones, over and out.